Okay, I am going to show you guys how to search for properties real quick, in case you haven't been doing that already. I'm going to kind of go over some things that information that you need to be able to explain the property properly to your clients, as well as doing a quick CMA. So if you're representing a buyer, you can give them a good price point to start with when they're making their initial offer. And I will also do a full-blown CMA, and that way if you ever have a listing appointment, you can be able to pull the information that way. So I will start with a basic search, and let's just say 250 to 305. It's too big of a gap. 275. And you pick your city. All right, so you pick your price range. You don't want to have too large of a gap. I usually like to go a little bit above what their max is and a little bit below what their minimum is, because I don't want them to miss out on anything. And then going a little bit above their max, there may be some allowance in that list price, but always explain to them those two things, because they may not every house that's over their price is going to have wiggle room, and they may not want to even look at it with it being overpriced as well. So if you just kind of explain those couple of things to them, just so that they have a better understanding, it's always the best way to go about it. So you pick your city. You can always pick more than one city. You just got to hold down control while you click on the cities. It's important that you go ahead and remove certain things. Like if you're working with a new buyer for FHA or a VA, you want to make sure that you are not including short sales. Short sales take very time consuming to get into, and it's not necessarily a worthwhile investment. Those are steered more directly towards investors than anything else. You also want to make sure that you highlight these two contingencies. The home EFIS basically means that the house is under contract. So if you look at contingencies and you see this in that line, that means that house is not available. And third-party approval, this is just an extension of a short sale. It's another way of saying that that property is unavailable. So you want to remove those, and then you want to go ahead and kind of put in their specs here, because if they need at least 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, you want to make sure that they're doing good. And let's say that they need at least 2,000 square feet. So as you see down here, we have 26 matches. So we'll go over here to results, and this brings up the list. Now, I always try to click on the square footage here because I want it to go from least to greatest. You can also organize it by price, however you want to do it. So let's say that we like this house right here. This is a brand new listings. This is going to be exactly what my clients are looking for. So what I want to do is figure out if this price right here is good. But before I get into that, let me actually discuss this a little bit. Obviously, we have the address here, the MLS number. List price is its current price. Old list price is what it started out as. So if you see these two numbers being different, that means they did a price reduction most likely. And then SP is going to stand for sales price. Market time listed right here. We got list dates. We've got owner information, and as you see right here, contingencies is blank. So this means that it's not under contract. This is where you would see that home EFIS. Other important things is showing instructions. It says see agent remarks. We have our listing agent right here, and as well as the brokerage that they work for and their phone number. All important things to be able to organize any type of showings, or if you were to write an offer, who you're going to be sending it to. And then you have your specs. 2,000 square foot house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, built in 1997. It's not in a crash zone, but it's -65 in a noise zone, so we're going to need an ACUS. Because it's built in 1997, we're not going to need to worry about a lead-based paint disclosure. And then we have more specs, and also this is what is going to be conveying with the property. So we have a dishwasher, hookup, ceiling fan, gas stove, that kind of thing. Now, if your clients have a tight budget, it's important for you to be able to know whether or not they can qualify to live in a homeowners association or a condo association. The monthly fees will be listed down here if they are a part of one. It is important that you know where this is located. It is at the bottom right of the MLS listing, because if you are working with a tight budget, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be able to be into a condo association. That's an extra $100 a month. You can also check the flood map to see if your clients are most likely going to have flood insurance. Again, if they are in a tight area with their money, they may not be able to. This X in the orange determines that it is outside of a flood zone, so this is not in a flood zone. So if we go back to the listing, and now we're going to run a quick comp on it so that we know how much to suggest for them to price it at for their offer. So you're going to copy the address, you're going to go back up here to your search bar, and you're going to put it right here. And then it's always going to ask you, did you mean? So you need to clarify that. This bar is always 0.25. It always auto-populates 0.25. But if you are in a quarter-mile radius and there's not a lot of comps, you may want to expand it slightly, but stick with the 0.25 first. You want active, expired, you want active, pending, and sold. See, we have one match, which is most likely my listing. So we're going to go over here and we're going to expand it. I probably shouldn't have chose Suffolk because there's nothing out there. Let me just change my city real quick. Let's make a little adjustment here just so y'all can have something better. Let's change it to Chesapeake instead, because I want to make sure that you guys have some good comps to compare it to. All right, so we're going to just pull up the very first one. Again, scroll down here. Still not a part of a homeowners association or anything along those lines. We're going to highlight the address and hopefully have better luck pulling comps for it. Pending, sold, along with active. See, my thing disappeared, so I gotta repaste it. See how it says 5,000 plus? It's because it's not registering this address. So go back through. Now let's pop back up. Again, it automatically does the quarter-mile radius, and look, we have 26 matches. Much, much better. So we're going to go over here to square footage. We're going to find our property that we're trying to compare it to. 707 Bloom, 2,000 square feet. It's not brand new, but we do have some brand new properties right here, and they're all 2,000 square feet, give or take. So we're going to click on these. All right, we're going to click on the one that we're looking at. And I'm going to kind of stay away from these super old ones just because, honestly, they're just too old. Let's pick this one right here. And let's go ahead and do this one. This one's a little too old, but I'm going to go ahead and include it just so I have some kind of balance. Now, when we're looking at these houses, we want to make sure that they're all relatively new, nice looking homes. Like, see, we have a rancher here. That's going to kind of throw it off a little bit. This one looks like it's a 2-story. Yeah. All right, so now that we have those highlighted, you can actually just do a quick CMA. And this gives you a rundown, okay? So we have the active listing, which is the one that we chose. It's nice to have 3 active and 3 sold, but that wasn't really our case here. We have one, well, technically we have 2 active. One of them is in pending status. So they're relatively all the same size. We got a little bit of give or take here, and then we've got our list price that are kind of varying. these ones down here match the 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, whereas the one that's pending is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. So there's going to be a little give and take for the price point there. Whether or not it's going to be worth that $33,000, not too sure. We'll have to sit there and kind of gauge it and make a good guesstimate when it comes to that. So when we look at the statistics over here, we've got a minimum, maximum, average, and median. So the minimum, the 245, that is the one that's pending, and then we got the maximum at the 287 and the average and the median. So when we're looking at these prices, I wish they were a little bit closer, but they're not. But as you see, these two properties are practically identical and they sold for the identical price. This one is relatively the same across the board, a little bit more per square footage, so maybe it had a little bit nicer on the finishes and it sold for slightly more. But with this one being at the top of that market at a 2019, 2,000 square feet, we have a 2015, 2,000 square feet, and this they have this listed for 287. This just closed back in January. So I'm going to venture off and say that this one is a little overpriced. I would tell my buyers to probably start somewhere around 280, maybe even down to 275, since that's what these sold for. I would really need to look at the pictures and kind of compare, and we can actually do that real quick. So let's look at the pictures and see if there's a drastic difference. So this is the property in question. No garage. 2015. Doesn't look too bad, nothing too crazy, right? So let's go back to the other one that sold for 280. This one right here. This is brand new. It also does not have a garage. Looks relatively the same, honestly. So even though this one is new, I'm going to say the other one actually has a nicer kitchen, but that's just my personal opinion. I would tell my clients to probably start somewhere around 280, maybe 275. And that's how we would do that. Now let's say that we wanted to go ahead and create a CMA. The CMA is specifically going to be for a listing, so I don't want you guys to get mixed up and feel like you have to do a CMA every single time. You will start by creating a contact if you do not have one already. Your pages will consist of the cover, subject, comparables. Over here on comparables, you're going to highlight the photo gallery and you're going to remove it. Otherwise, you will have, well, I just undid that. Hold on, let me do it again. You're going to highlight the photo gallery and remove the photo gallery. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole lot of photo galleries. And you're going to put in a subject property. It's nice to be able to pull it from tax records, but for whatever reason, this thing never seems to want to work for me. But we'll try it anyways. Just put a random address in here. Look, it actually worked. So make sure you don't include the type of street it is, just the number and the name. And it should pull everything for you. See? Don't really have to worry too much about the cover. You can fill out their information right here. If you go under Rain under your personal account, you can fill out all of this information down here, which I do suggest y'all do that if you haven't already. You could snap a photo of the front of the house so that you can have that uploaded here. It's totally up to you if you want to go through that. But then comparables, you're going to do it the exact same way that you just did the quick one, right? So we're going to write 1817 Rainbow Court Beach. Right? Automatically on the quarter mile radius, and we're doing active, pending, and sold. And we're going to go over here. Now you need to know how much square feet your property that you're doing the listing appointment has. So you can always pull them up under Realist to really gauge that in case you can't, in case they didn't tell you ahead of time. Let me see, is this similar? Well, we're going to pretend that that one is similar. I want to go back to my results. I want to let me go back. All right, so we're going to go back to the results. And we're going to pretend we're probably somewhere around 1,800 square feet. Again, we want 3 active and 3 sold. And we want to try to mix it up to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to get them some good properties. So we'll pick these. So we have a lot here. And these are all brand new, so I'm not going to include those because this property was probably built closer to somewhere around here. So we may not be able to get this high up just because those comps are going to throw it off. So we're going to go back this direction and we're going to pick these. Now, as you see, we're getting a little low on the square footage size, and that's another brand new one, so we're going to exclude that one. And I think that's just as good as we're going to get right now. It's only 5, so it's not exactly where I want to be as far as comps go. But we're just for educational purposes, we're going to go and pretend that it all matches, and we're going to add selected from it, right? So did that not work? All right. As you see, it has it columnized right here. You have this. If you get really good into this, you'll be able to recognize how much value an extra bedroom or a full bathroom or a half bathroom will add to the house. We don't have the luxury of doing all that right now, and I don't pretend to understand it. That's more of an appraiser. So I kind of leave it alone. And then when you're going to go to pricing, again, the same thing that we saw in that quick CMA, low, medium, average, and high. Has it all right there. And as you see, we have a lot closer numbers. We have that one that is really high, and that's more of an outlier. So I don't focus too much on that one, but it's nice to have it so that you can at least show it to your people. So if we click on View CMA, it's going to generate the report for us so that you can really get a breakdown, and it is a lot of paper. See, we have 16 pages of the same information being illustrated in different ways. We have 1 active listing at 250, and then we have 4 listings that were sold. So we have 254, 255, 280, and 290. Now, Rock Lake Loop is it's in Rock Creek, so that's a neighborhood that's right next door. These other ones might be in that same neighborhood as well. They all go to the same school district, and they're all relatively the same size and square footage. Now, when you're looking at this information, see, we got single stories. Normally, I would go through and I would make sure that the comparables match the subject property. The subject property is a 2-story, so normally I would go through and exclude this, and that's why you're going to see such a price gap between these 2 properties. So if you just look at them side by side, both of these are good. And I have no idea what that one looks like, but let's assume that it's probably says it on here. Oh, it might say it on there. Anyways, so this is the report. It really breaks everything down for you. It even breaks down days on the market. And as you see, one of them stayed on the market for a really long time. It probably started out overpriced. All the other ones sold relatively quickly. So it's important that you price it accordingly. If you look at this graph, the blue means what they listed at, and then the pink means what they sold at. So all of them sold close to what they were listing for, but this one right here is the one that stayed on the market the longest, right? And it looks like they had to come down on their price a little bit too. So they were priced a high, and it probably didn't show as well. It may have something else going on with it as well. More numbers broken down, that same graph that we see over and over again. And then we have pictures and listing information for each property. By having this available when you are presenting with your clients, it makes you look well prepared. It's important that you study this information though, instead of just going in there and winging it. Listing appointments are not intended to be wrong in any kind of way. You really need to do your research so that you know what you're talking about. So 16 pages, and then you get to decide on what you think their house is going to be priced for after you've already seen the interior and seen the interior of the comparables. All of these houses have pictures so that there's no reason why you can't feel like you can't scroll through and look at the pictures and see what kind of condition the homes are in. So you just click on the picture and do your due diligence. So for the most part, that is the extent of making a CMA. I'm sorry about that. That was my cat. But I'm not going to redo this whole video because my cat decided to be crazy. Sorry, guys. All right, so this is pretty much a CMA when you get ready for a listing appointment. The first one that I showed you is a CMA, quick CMA, so that you can prepare your buyers for making a comparable offer or a competitive offer at that. Again, always look to see if you are in a homeowners association or a condo association, because that can definitely affect their eligibility to buy that property. And a lot of people may not, there are quite a bit of people who prefer to avoid those as well. So you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. All of these things can be saved and they'll be located right under my CMAs right here, except for, of course, your quick CMA. That's not ever going to be saved, but you can print it out and have it with you for your records. When you do the quick CMA, if your offer gets accepted, that's what you're going to be uploading into Command anyway. So do your due diligence. You guys got this. Y'all are doing really, really well. If you have any additional questions or if there's something else that you would like to see, please let me know. Other than that, you should be good to go. Okay.